I
I'm on
don't know.
YouTube checking, and it has you live after dark with me, but
Yeah.
it's under Don Rogers at March 4th Productions. The other one I had has people waiting.
Yeah, I just posted the link to this one in that one.
Okay.
And I don't know why my camera is off in Zoom for some reason. This is there I am. Okay. Sorry, I had to get out of the YouTube side of it. Just let me make sure. I'll edit all this out for the actual one. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so we're live. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm just waiting for everybody to get in here. Spinge is going to man the chat and let me know when everybody gets the link. I apologize. I'm just learning to do this, and I'm doing it all off of my cell phone because living in southern Alberta has its downfalls as well as, you know, the fresh air and scenery. There's certain places it's damn near impossible to get internet, and I live in one of those towns.
That sucks.
So, like, all of my streaming, all of my editing, all of my shows, everything is done off of the mobile data that we have on our cell phones.
Have you tried Starlink?
I haven't gone there yet. That's kind of like the Hail Mary. I've been surviving with this whole cell phone thing, but now that I'm going to start doing the lives and stuff, I think it might be a necessary evil.
Well, it's actually really good. The price is fantastic. You pay a little bit more than what you're paying in New York, and you get way better service. Right?
I might check
24/7, everything. I'm just throwing it out there. It's something definitely worthy to check out if you're in a place that has a problem getting things.
Is that the Karen's wondering, is that the right one?
Yes. As long as Frank is on your screen right now with me, you're in the right one. Karen's trying to find us too.
I see you got your gear on tonight, huh?
Oh yeah, I knew I was hosting the man, so I had to suit up.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, nothing.
Our truck.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I'll tell it to you on the air. My truck's name is Frank.
Nice.
Because it's a big badass fucking Hemi Dodge 1500, and it's black on black.
That's what's up right there.
Yeah.
You put a little red pinstripe on that. You got the A-Team monster.
Yeah. Little known fact about that truck, you know those Challengers you see driving around, the ones that say 395 on the side? Same engine.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's fire right there.
Hold on. I'm oh dear. Still trying to get everybody here.
That's all right. I'm in no rush.
Yeah, this is the right chat. So
besides, there's no such thing as time. It's just a construct.
Yeah. Share copy link. Now I gotta go back and find the other one.
Yeah, I just wanted you to know I promoted that stuff all over Twitter before, so now everybody got the wrong link.
Oh. Sorry. I think they've got that. Oh my god. This is horrible. I hope everybody finds this because I'm kind of stuck here. So we're on the air anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll just roll with it, and we will hope people find the chat. I'm sorry, this is.
Is this
yeah, I'm posting out the new link as well on.
Okay, can you shoot that over to Karen?
What, the link of the show?
Yeah. If you're putting it on Facebook, I don't know if you can tag her or not. I feel like such an ass right now, but it's my first time, so of course fuck ups happen, right?
Well, you got to be really nice because you're Canadian, so.
Oh yes. Only by name, I think. But yeah. No, it is absolutely great to have you back on. And for anybody that's watching the replay, this will be about where we're probably going to pick up. And So the guest tonight is the amazing Frank Castle, who is an ayahuasca shaman or a neo-shaman, sorry, in New York, and a dope fucking musician. I really don't have any other words for it. High vibrational music that just can put you in a chill state and set you in a trance. So sometimes it's not a good idea to listen to driving, but it gets you in the fucking zone.
It does get you in the zone.
But he is back again tonight, and he is going to be sharing some more interstellar amazing information, which he always has a fountain of and just melts my mind every time we talk. So it's an absolute honor to have you back, Frank. If you want to give everybody a quick rundown on what you got going on, and then we can get into it.
Okay, my name is Frank Castle, or Frankie Fearless. You can find me on YouTube at Fearless Tribe on YouTube, or YouTube Frank Castle's Fearless. You could check out the new music, Sons of the Suns music, by just putting that into anywhere, and it's coming up. Check us out on YouTube. We're on Spotify, Amazon, Apple. So we're going to eventually be going direct to consumer marketing. We're not going to remove the earlier stuff off of Spotify and all these places, but we will just be going direct marketing right from the website, just due to all the current issues in the world with music. So if you want, just check us out, show a little support, click a like, share, subscribe, and I'd really appreciate it. And thank you for having me, and get ready to receive the frequency, because here we go.
Thank you again for coming. And before I forget, because it's still so damn new to me and kind of a shock, those of you listening on audio on the Forbidden Knowledge Network that this show is now a part of, this is your first live recording with Frank Castle, and thank you for tuning in.
It's great. Let me just say that anyone tuning in and listening, thank you for being here. I appreciate you so much. Take whatever from the conversation that vibrates highly with you, and leave the rest alone. There's no need to fight it anymore. No need to try to push the river upstream. No need to pick your favorite person as being the only one with the only information. I come from a group of many that share different techniques and styles, personality. So the truth is coming out a little bit for everyone, and we got something for everyone. Okay, this has been planned a long time in the waiting, and it's finally being out and revealed. And I've been doing it for years. I am an ayahuasca Neo-Shaman. Before and above everything else, I fell and broke my neck at work. They fired me and removed me. They removed me from duty, fired me. I got the worst treatment you could imagine. And during that time, they said, you're not even going to be able to walk. I drank ayahuasca right before going on a tour because I had no job anymore. So I went back to the music. I said, I'm just going to go on tour. I was invited out. And then ayahuasca changed me. It brought me back to baseline, defragged my mental hard drive, took all the craziness out of my brain, gave me a minute to think without all of that, and then was also able to clean and clear me, purging out all toxins of all kinds, just all kinds, and allowing me to sit in the truth for a while, to see what's really there, to see what I'm not doing, what I've been contracted to do. And I have no clue about any of this stuff. And all of a sudden I have deep, intimate knowledge of it. But my gift allows me to see up and down in density. So a lot of people say, well, like some people channel, some people astral project, or they do automatic writing, whatever their techniques are. I can just see it straight up. When I look up, I see the density lines. I could see right into it. It appears like a computer platform to me. I could look up to the 12th density, their source right there. I could look all the way down into the pit, thus allowing me a little bit better. And I think being a hip hop artist helps, and being very descriptive person, I'm able to witness something and speak on it immediately. So in a lot of situations where people would say, I don't know what that is. I'm going crazy in here. It's just crazy. There's all these things flying and floating. I can just describe what exactly we're looking at. I just have this knack of doing that. So I've noticed that part of my contract was get out there and describe it. So a lot of things that you're going to hear tonight, you're going to hear other people have said all this already, except I'm going to be describing it differently. A lot of my stuff comes from personal experience, not hearing about it, not even looking at it from the background, like literally getting involved in it from a psychedelic angle, because as an ayahuasca shaman, Aya has pulled me in with her. She said, it was a beautiful thing she said to me, Don. She said, the planet was being taken over and destroyed undercover. So I prayed to Source, right? And Source sent you. And I said, what do you mean? Source sent me. No, many others. So I prayed that someone would come and save me and help me with the issue we're having here on the planet. And through me was born you and many others. And you don't know who you are yet. So now you're praying to Source and God for help. And you're falling into the religion. You're falling into the same trap that I prayed to have someone sent to help me here. But also, you're my children. And I am waking up all of my children. So as we're reaching out to this external source that we think is some kind of God character, you find out that I found out, and I saw that there's many, many, many of us here. I'm not even putting numbers on anything tonight. There's many of us that are literally Source, but an individual. So we have the same exact thing that Source has, but we're the little version that is expected to grow into the big version, to be alongside, to teach and learn and teach forever with no top off. As an individual, I described this to my mother the other day, and she loved the description. So we're Italian, right? So I said to her, Mom, if I put the sauce from Sunday and I open that pot and invite 8 people over for dinner, but right before we get the like the macaronis out or whatever, I just take a dish and put out some bread. And then in each dish in front of each person, I just take the same exact amount of the spoon amount out of the sauce and put it in that dish. Now, each dish has the exact same thing, the exact same ingredients as the big bowl, right? As the big pot. And she goes, yeah, exactly. I go, that's us with Source. So when someone says to me, whatever, I'm coming from the direction of, hey, I know this about me. I know this about a lot of you too, but I can't do nothing about that. There's nothing I can do about anyone else. But what I can do is just point it out and hope that they follow along. And during their awakening, it's like you drop little seeds for everyone. But I take it, the minute ayahuasca showed me, to participate, properly, I had to accept the responsibility. So there's a responsibility, right? Like if you know something or you hear it from me and you're like, wow, he says he's God. And no, I'm Source. And so are you. We all come from Source. There is no outside of Source. As a matter of fact, I was just arguing with someone about artificial intelligence and how Cliff High is like, nope, the robot's not alive. I'm like, it's alive. Does it run on fucking electricity? Electricity and magnetism come straight from God's source. What are you talking about? It's alive. It's how you're building it and how it is able to interact with you. But the minute it goes live and you build it a network where it's living and can control stuff, it's in there controlling it and living. Make no mistake, and stop being foolish in this world. So, being God source, I challenge, the responsibility has me challenge myself with shamanic experiences where demons are involved, right? So at first, they just beat you up, they eat you up, they tear you apart. The ETs, first they abduct you, then they rape you, then they clone you, right? Then they eat you. Okay. You got to learn all this stuff first. Oh, you come from these guys. Hey, that guy looks just like me, but like 20 feet tall. Yeah. And guess what? They're just creator beings just like you. Wait, just like me? Well, you're made in their image. I'm like, that guy looks just like me, actually. They're like, well, that's your DNA. That's why you're here seeing him. And I'm like, hey, check that out. And they're like, yeah, they left you here to suffer the experiment under the rule of the reptilians. Wait, what? So betrayal, eaten again, foiled again, rotten again. Well, here's the good thing, though, Frank. Here's the good thing, everyone. No matter what they do, you just keep coming back because you're eternal. You're eternal. You're just having Frank as the experience at the moment, but you're breaking through. The idea of this time is to activate your flesh. What would Jesus do? Right? People, what would Jesus do? Or what would this character do? Or what would this biblical character do? They'd activate their DNA and start taking the responsibility of self and what it means to be source, what it means to come here and change the world. You change the world by changing, like people always go, oh, where do I start? What do I sign up? And what do I got to do? I'm like, this sounds silly at first. Did you learn how to breathe? Do you have breathing techniques? Do you know what grounding is? Do you meditate? Did you take a shower today? And are you wearing deodorant? Is the cat litter still a mess? Did you sweep your floors before thinking about taking a psychedelic? Did you vacuum the living room before laying on that floor before taking the psychedelic? If the answer is no, you're in for a deep, long journey of learning. It's no mistakes out there. You're just learning. But if you do, you're in for something really interesting. You get things like learning how to clean and clear yourself of parasites. You learn truth. Like I was saying this earlier today. We're not discovering anything anymore right now, right? We're just remembering and like recovering the information. Because every time someone says something that resonates with truth, we're like, oh, yeah, of course. Of course that's it and not that. Obviously. Right? Now, I've been telling people things for 20 years and they hate me for it. Hate me. Family members, friends. I've lost many people. Many. Okay. And 10 years ago, some of them started babbling the same stuff I told them 20 years ago and totally acted like not only did I not know this from day one, I don't even remember talking to you about this. I've never discussed this with you. Oh, so that's how we're going to take it into the future as fucking liars with deceit and ego and ignorance. Okay. You guys realize that without the psychedelics, most people, I'll speak for the US and Canada, we don't go through rites and rituals as people and human beings anymore. You just get up and go to school and you do your homework and you get into routines and all this, but there's no passage and rite of passage. You get some phony baloney one in the Christian church. They tell you, pick a name. You could be Peter the Apostle. And then I don't even remember what it's called. Your christening or your whatever. All they're doing is throwing a demon into you when you do that because it's all a lie.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
Space Jesus is no lie. Right? And he said, and I'll shut up in 1 sec. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to, before you get into Space Jesus, because I love Space Jesus, so I want that to be its own thing. Okay. Would it be fair to surmise out of what you were saying that when you have your awakening, yours especially was full blown with ayahuasca, but myself, I've started to come to the conclusion that your awakening eventually reveals densities in your mind, like you gain more perception of the densities around you because you're unlocking more neural pathways in your brain through things like meditation, breathing, psychedelics, all of that. Like I just find like that feels like it's part of the ascension and being able to perceive
That's
things. And
exactly what you're doing. That's an excellent explanation. We were all got the answer coming from different directions. You're on fire with that. You're okay. So the sun spits out energy. I'm going to keep it simple. The energy unlocks what the enemy locked in you in terms of your DNA structure. So they allowed you 2 strands from 12 strands of DNA, right? Some people have way more than 12. I have 23, right? So it's just wild. It's the experiment, it's the grand experiment. However, this is a universal structure of learning at some degree or another. So you come in with what you have, right? We're on a path of learning. Some of us have just been around longer. Some of us, I've already ascended through all 12 densities, came back and was like, I'm in. I heard the scream from my people and was like, oh no, it's kind of boring up here. I'm coming back in. But I already did it, but I didn't do this as a human, and I didn't do it with you. That doesn't sound that's with everyone. We're all going to do this together. It's never been done. It's super exciting to even be here is crazy. But this is I'm going to get to what you were saying. This is density. So you become dense. So to get into this place, you have to compress. So basically, the sun spits out energy, it hits you, activates your strands, which decompresses and allows you to spiral up and out back into who you are. But you're already who you are. You just can't access it through the flesh machine. So you feel trapped and there's all these things attached to it. But what you're really doing as you uncompress and spiral out your DNA and activate your strands, it leaves you lighter. It brings you up in frequency, up in density. And Mother Earth is rising in density. So you're going to go or you're going to go. One or the other. There's no, that's it. It's going to be, yeah, I'll do it. And then you go through the process. So it's inside, not outside. You can watch this happen to people over time. Some people it'll happen to overnight. You'll be like, holy shit, I've been doing this for 20 years and nothing. Ayahuasca for 10, nothing. And then one day, boom, some guy named Phil just does it. And me and you are like, whoa. But because we saw it, we would go, oh, we can do that. Boom. And it just happens. There is no space Jesus no more. Space Jesus told me this. It doesn't matter about my conversations with him. It matters what he said to me. That's important. He said, everything that you're reading about me and that you specifically and your people around here have gnosis about. So I'm from the Bronx, New York. He's like, y'all grew up Catholic and you have this, and this in your mind. It's 100% wrong. I was not born on Christmas. I'm a spring baby. First of all, I'm okay. You can call me Jesus. I'm like, okay. He wasn't black. He wasn't white. He was like tan, really good looking. I thought he was like a dude from California, but with a little bit of a Middle East kick. Right. And I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. Okay. So it's no big deal. And he says to me, nothing you're reading about me is true, except everything I can do, everything I did, you're going to do. You're going to be able to do and more. And I said, well, this is a pretty big deal because I didn't really believe in any of this. So, like, I think I've told you this before. Like, when I met him, he walked up to my front gate and he was like, you're going to let me in? Like, it was the gate's only 3 feet high. This was at my old apartment. And I was like, wow, look at you. But he said it was because of the way you are with your cat. So I was holding my cat like a baby and I was singing to him. I was making up words. You're such a beautiful little boy, whatever. And the birds were tweeting. It was 12 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe 11 o'clock in the morning. And the birds changed. The chirping sounded like a song. And I said, look, they're singing a song with us, little buddy. And then I just looked over. He was standing there. He like walked right up. And it was real. It was a real guy. I was like, I saw the robe and everything. He was lightly glowing, lightly. I was like, Well, a beautiful looking man. The first thing I went over to, I grabbed his robe when I let him in to the gate, and it was bright white. And I'm like, "Can I ask you something?" And I was just holding it I got one of these robes in my hand. I want to know what the fuck this thing. And I said to him, "Does that white stain?" And he just looked at me. He goes, "No, it doesn't." He goes, "And we all get them at this level." And I was like, "Dude, this is awesome." So he said, "Disregard everything else from your teachings and learnings. And just think, if I stub my toe, I don't yell Frankie Christ, but I hear you going, 'Oh, Jesus Christ.'" And he's like, "Why you be doing that to me for?" He's like a regular guy. So I was like, "Hey, I'm just," and he goes, "No, you got to," he goes, "I'm only saying it." He was laughing at me. He goes, "To break the conditioning, because even you have it." Because in my mind, Don, I love superheroes, right? When I was watching Justice League, the movie, Batman sees the Anunnaki guy, Darkseid's whatever, the main villain. The guy's a big giant Anunnaki guy from another planet. So I was putting it all together watching this. And the first thing Batman does is go, "Jesus Christ, he's tall." And I went, "Batman says that?" You just threw that in there. You know, Batman influences like a billion fucking people. You don't read that in the comic. He never does that kind of stuff. So I thought it was really a flex on some stuff that was going on, like they're telling us some stuff. But he's like, the Christ is in you. The Christed ones are the light body beings. Like, we're all talking about the same stuff. We're just coming at it from a different direction. The light body is the Christ. You want the light body, which is kind of right here over you, in you. You want it inside of your flesh. And I'm like, "Okay, what do you got to stuff it in like a snowsuit?" He goes, "No, as you spiral out and release the trauma and heal it, you decompress, and open area after it's cleaned of trauma from lifetimes, more light slips in. More and more light slips in. And as you're activating your strands, you're actually becoming, okay, so what you are is the light body. You're going to be here. But you got to unlock the flesh. It's a suit. You're wearing like an Iron Man suit, and you're going through a video game, and you're unlocking things, and they make it kind of unbelievable. So they do stuff like, and this is the big thing. So you're so powerful. I'm so powerful. People out there, audience is so powerful that when you speak improperly, you're spell casting. And depending on your intent behind something is how long it might last, or bring it into this world and make it a reality, even though it might be something you don't want. So um, we set intentions by spell casting and saying stuff like, "I'll believe it when I see it." And you're like, "Oh, okay, well, I've never seen nothing." I'm like, "Okay, well, you spell casted that you'll believe it when you see it, but the universe is on the inside of you. You're made of the universal structure stuff, your source." So the idea to break free is to say, "No, I'm ready for the magic. Universe, show me I'm ready. Universe, show me I am ready. I'm ready to learn." When you say, "I'm ready to heal trauma, ready to learn, I'm ready to change and go with the flow and stop trying to push the river," the magic just happens. Okay, now we're going to separate the thing I taught my brother yesterday. When you use the word magic, people think hocus pocus, focus pocus. Boom, magic. You think
Hold
fairy
on,
dust.
you froze there, Frankie.
Check 1, 2.
Oh, you froze. You froze for a second.
Am I back?
You're back.
Okay, so when you shit, where was I? Let me take it back for
Your
1 second.
brother.
When you say to someone, "I'll believe it when I see it," the universal structure will never show it to you because it's all on the inside. And we use things like, and we say things like magic, and it turns people away because you're thinking of David Copperfield and poof. like tricks and stuff and illusions. That's not magic. That's not the real definition of magic. The magic we're discussing is consciousness. Like, you're such a pure form of consciousness that it forms a body of light, a soul, so you can move around and do things. But not everyone can do that. Not everyone can do that. Everyone will get their opportunity to do that, but not everyone can do that. And everyone is from source. Everything is from, there is no such thing as outside of source. There's no such thing, right? At best, you would say, like I said this once, I went outside of source and went up another notch. And then my buddy was like, what was there? I said a whole new set of levels, and then source was at the top again. Right. So you go, so you never left source. You just went into like another round of things like densities, and then source was at the top of that one as well. And I go, oh shit. So nothing and everything is in here, and you're activating within it. So your light body's flying around prior to you coming here. I remember being a light body. I've had arguments with reptilians on who's had true ownership of the planet. And I said, stewardship and ownership are two different things. Mother Ayahuasca owns the place. We steward the place. We're like flesh ambassadors to her. We could speak on her behalf because, let's face it, sometimes people just don't listen. That's how this works. It works the same way there. So we come into form here. Unfortunately, in this form of density, going into the flesh, amnesia was built into the suit. And then we say, well, the enemy they were tricky. They got us to jump into the suits. The reptilians will go, but I was here before that. And then that occurred. And I go, right. And I was a light body when the first blade of grass grew. Wait. Hold on. Let me back it up even further, because I know reptilians are a little thick-headed. When the thought of having a planet in density, a place for the soul known as Gaia to go into and inhabit, I stood with her and we programmed this place with many others, including your return to the planet and your little takeover of it. So what makes you think at any point in your plans that you get over on people, on all of us, that source didn't have one up his sleeve for you? Because how do you beat source? Show me on paper. Point to it. And they say, no, we're not battling source. You can't defeat source. So we just delay. We deceive. We get you to look over here instead, because we know you'll try to solve a problem on watching some crime show on TV over than doing your breathing exercises or something, or even having a clue that you're literal capital G God in a body, and that the people that are standing around you might, although all come from source, not everyone that's running the human suit is like us. Not making them good or bad, but you get the full range from what you would consider AI robots, or robots then AI, all the way to people that know exactly who they are, and they're putting their souls in and running the bodies with, and doing little, they're like little mafia types around the world.
I love that you phrase it that way, because that's actually something it's the only way I've been able to relate with what's going on with my awakening, is that I've now, for the last several months, have basically felt like an individual piloting a human suit.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I've been perceiving the world. And it's not like a place of like, I'm a superhero and I'm just in a suit. No, I've realized that this is a stage of consciousness. And what I wanted to ask was your opinion on like vivid dreams and like astral projection and OBEs and like even deep meditations. When you get into that different stage, is that in your opinion, a different stage of your consciousness? Because, like, I've been a super soldier in a dream. I've been a farmer in a dream. I've been at the house that me and Spinja want to buy for 3 weeks, and I woke up and I was only asleep for a night.
Right. So all of what you would think that is, I would say is true. I hold nothing like, nah, that's not true, really, unless somebody's just dead up lying. Your experiences will be true to you, thus making it real, because it's all happening now. It's not like you were a super soldier and now you're back, whatever. That version of you, that super soldiering, is super soldiering right now. I can't tell you what experience he's having, but you might, right? You see what I'm saying? And so when I had that experience with me, I visited my 6-year-old self. When I was 6 years old, there was a man in my closet. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? So I went in the closet. I had these huge closets. I went in the closet. I don't remember anything. Right. So now under ayahuasca, 48 years old, I drink. They're like, you ready to go? And I'm like, where are we going today? And they show me the closet. And I'm from the other side though. And I'm like, what is this? I was thinking like the witch in the wardrobe, where you open the closet and there's another dimension. So I was like, what the and I walked in, and then little me was standing there, and he was having the moment that I had already had that happen. But now I'm future me, and it's happening. I'm doing it, but I'm drinking ayahuasca, and that's how it occurred. And he says to me, "Hey, you're a weird looking guy." And I go, "Yeah, that's great. Well, I'm going to tell you a little something about you." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "Well, I'm you. I'm from the future." And he says, "What happened to your hair?" And I says, "Yeah, that goes." He had the most beautiful hair. He had a big thing going on. I said, "We get rid of that early." I said, "You don't have to do." And I listed a few things for him. I was very emotionally tied to this. So it was stuff in my life that you will never have to do because I already did it. Right. So I tell him that, hug him. And then, like, I got down on one knee. I gave him a hug. I said, "Don't worry, you'll be okay. You just listen to what I'm telling you. You're going to remember it this time, though." So he's like, "Yeah, no problem. Haven't I?" And he does that to me. He's a little funny dude. And he goes back out. And I go, "What was that all about?" And they go, "That version of you now doesn't have to live the life you just went through. He gets to go left where you went right." And I said, "Oh my gosh." And he goes, "And it's happening for him right now." So ta-da. And I was like, wait, did we just save this little kid from the fire and all this other stuff? They're like, oh, that's never going to happen. Not for him. So I was fixing my timelines, even though it wouldn't, like, when I come back to here, line up 100% with mine. But my internal does, because it's a piece of me. So it's a piece of me that goes on living and has a good life immediately, instead of the divorce and all kinds of crazy, weird stuff. None of that occurs. Nothing. A whole different set of things that are really good. So I get filled with all this good. And his trauma is already healed because I drank the ayahuasca. But I'm the singularity. I claim singularity on the whole thing. That's a whole discussion inside of itself. So all versions of me will respond and collapse into me because I'm the one that claimed it. That's how it works. You recognize it, you're aware of it, you claim it, it's your birthright, but now you're responsible for it. So you get it, but you got to act it right. You got to act proper when you start doing this. You lose the ego. Like when I work with people with ayahuasca, I work with 1-2 people at a time. I know I don't charge a lot of money. I just do the work you need for you. I'm here as your support system. I have that Neo-Shaman comes from tech. I'm a Bronx guy. I learned techniques from Shiva, Ganesha, Kali, Hanuman, Lakshmi, Vishnu, Rama. My father is Ra. My my fractal is Horus. Sekhmet is my wife. That's her fractal. Like this goes on and on, right? So I learned from them and ayahuasca. who pulls me out like immediately. Welcome back, my son. And I'm like, oh, what do I got to do? Believe me, I cried for 8 years doing this. There was so much trauma, and we can dig in any direction you want. And I faced most of these things that we deal with one way or another because I have to, because clients are coming to me, and then if it's random, I don't know what they have, what's going on with them. So if it's a demon, I got to know how to help them cast out the demon. I don't cast the demon out. Ayahuasca, when you make the agreement with her, if you agree to cast it out, now you do the work to cast it out. She supports you. I support you. Oh, I help, believe me. And I have a whole crew of others that will help, and they'll just step in. I called a girl on another shaman because I got in way over my head once. Way over my head. I'm always way over my head. However, I've learned from those experiences, no one's ever failed. It's just you're like, wow, this might be bigger than me. So I just call another shaman. Hey, on Facebook Messenger, do you see this? And I show them, and they go, oh, give me 30 seconds. They run, do their thing, and then boom, call the other one. Boom, shaman, another shaman. Boom, you see this? Holy shit. Yo, you need 3 of us. Well, we got 5 of us. Put them right in the middle. And then have people working on people right there. But you have to want it. So it's the person. It's like, do you want to come back for the next, I want to say 25,000 year cycle to go through this shit again? Or you want to get rid of this now? And they'll usually like, nah, let's get this out. But I have clients that won't tell me there's something lurking until like the second time they're with me. So they'll work with me for a week and then come back the next year and go, oh, that didn't work. Let me tell you why. And I'm like, what happened? Well, the demon or the reptilian or the black goo or the ETs, it was frightening. And I was afraid to talk about it. And then when ayahuasca asked me about it, I said, no, I'm too scared. So they go, okay, we're not going to deal with that. We're going to deal with something a little less. So you could talk to her. She's a consciousness. It's your mother. I don't know how people talk to their mothers, but I have fun with I'm like, hey, what's up, ma? Hey, how you doing? Right? Like Carmine Ragu. Hey, oh, right. So I'm like that with ayahuasca, except I'm respectful. She's beautiful. She talks to me. This was our thing, our contract. So some of the stuff it's necessary to see so I can actually speak on the things on her behalf for our behalf of the planet. There's many like me. I speak with all the other shaman, but my DNA connects me to some of the big guys. So they're like, we're going to need someone to talk. Right. So I'll go and witness ETs discussing. We'll use Galactic Federation for an example. They'll be discussing something about us that directly involves the people with the DNA. So I have 23 species in me. So I have a lot of DNA from the planet in me. I would say I would have the living library inside of me. So I was everything from the blade of grass all the way up to Frank and everything in between. So this is the graduation time. So I go to speak and they're like, oh, look who it is. And I'm like, well, you guys aren't Galactic Federation guys. You're from this faction. You're from that faction. You're from this faction. I go, so which one of you has my DNA? Because I'm here to speak on behalf of my people. There's all ETs here. I see some guy that looks like a human. What's oh, no one's got my DNA. You guys want to check it? And they're like, mm-hmm. I go, okay, you get to do nothing because you're not me. And that makes you also not any of them. And obviously, nobody knows you're meeting here to discuss this, especially anyone from my lineage, my DNA. Well, you don't invite not one. I said, you don't get to speak, ET man. You don't get to speak on behalf of me. I don't know you. You're not connected to me. I'm Source, son. Get in line. Back up. And they're like, ugh. Once you start finding out and the responsibility that goes behind this stuff, I'll be like, I was not prepared for that. I was like, I stuttered at first. She goes, Ye who ye who does public speaking nonstop and refuses to shut up. That's the moment you choose to feel a little weird. I go, there was reptilians there. And she was like, there's always reptilians there. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm starting to get it now. She's like, nah, but your birthright. You can't have people stealing it. You can't have people. So people know Bashar, the guy that channels Bashar, Daryl Anka. And then there's Abraham. I don't remember the guy that does, or the person that does Abraham. So my wife and I were channeling Esther. So my wife's into them and the QHT and all this. So she brings me in from that direction. So I bring in Abraham. I was just talking out loud, and this weird thing occurred where he was there, and it's not a him. It was like he appeared like an ankh almost of light. And I was like, that's a non-corporeal form. Like, I was going through all this stuff, and he's like, let me come in and talk. So I go, nah, you could just fucking speak to me like this right here. Cause I was talking to him. So I'm like, this is crazy. So my wife's like, holy shit, ask him some questions. So as he was talking, I said, yo, did you ask Aya's permission, Mother Earth's permission to be here to discuss some of this stuff like the way you're saying? And then he's like, what? So I go, yeah, let's get your man Bashar up in here. And I was making a joke. And I look over, and Bashar's like, greetings. So I'm like, oh shit, you're an actual person. You're like a little person, a little ET. So he wiggles into me, and I go, get out of me. I don't channel anyone but my higher self. Ayahuasca shows up, pushes him back, says to the two of them, neither one of you have asked my permission and have this agenda for my planet. Did anyone even ask me? So they were like, well, we're just looking out for, and she was like, did any one of you ask me? She goes, Frank asked me. Frank didn't even know I existed until 5 minutes ago. Like, and these weird things occur. So I'm like, oh shit. So even in this, and she goes, Frank, everyone's agenda based. Everyone. Just remember that. Try not, even your agenda based. She would point to me. She goes, you speak for me, but it's my agenda. You got to remember that. This is my Earth. She goes, I'm also not just Earth. She goes, you guys think I'm just like the planet Earth. She goes, you know the world tree, right? That has Middle Earth, Nibelheim, Vandelheim. She goes, all that's me. That whole tree is me. So I'm like, wait, what? She's like, that whole thing is me. You think I'm the planet alone. I'm the whole thing, baby. Those are different densities in me, different areas and dimensions in me, different spots on the planet, by the way, you didn't even know existed, which is considered a different dimension when you're that far on the other side. And I go, how is that possible? She goes, Hawaii is absolutely different than New York, right? They have different customs, different things that go on. And Italy's even different, more different than that. And blah, blah, blah. So each area is a different dimension. Now imagine the Earth was just way bigger and they never told you what's on the other side, the other continents or the other places. And I'm like, what? She just pulls me up into the sky. Boom, there's Earth. I go, that's gigantic. I don't even know what these places are. And it's just spinning. And I'm going, well, it's not flat. And she's like, what? You would waste my time and even say that? Flat Earth? See that silence with crickets? Same thing there. I was like, no, I wasn't asking. I'm just like, it's not flat. Like, I didn't know what to do. Like, I was like, oh, she's got me. I'm in outer space with her. Then I seen it from the ships and literally started asking. I was like, where's the firmament? They're like, what firmament? I go, the things that keep the waters out from above. They were like, yeah, no. You're talking about hyperspace. What keeps you out of the ether and all that stuff. You're not talking about what we're flying in outer space. So I was like, oh, they're like, we have infinite space to create. It's a giant palette. They're like, don't look too far into it. You're being ridiculous. As above, so below. Why would you be living on a flat plate? I go, I don't know, man. They're like, you're applying 2D to 3D again. And the problem with that is even your brain makes you and your consciousness being active the way humans are is 4D. So you're using 2D linear to talk about 3D things from a 4D perspective, but you're putting it back into 3D. They're like, you got to stop doing that. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And then I was shown, and then you feel it and you release the stuff that doesn't allow you to understand it by being in it, like on the job training. It's like, listen, man, you're going to have to purge tonight. You're going to cry for 4 hours. You're going to take the beating. Look at the things you've done. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. They're like, yeah, you got to purge that out. And we cannot go any further. I'm like, well, how much crazier can it get? Then you throw up and a portal opens and Ra walks into the living room. And you're like, oh, and he's here with Shiva. Oh, they know each other. Oh, what's happened? Like, it just goes. And if you're willing to give 100% and participate in yourself, you will witness miracles that are you. I'll stop right for a question or if you want to say something, because I'm just I feel like I'm channeling the higher guy based on what you might want to hear. Or
yeah, I actually do have one. Earlier in the show, you mentioned the split, like you're coming or you're going, and it's one or the other. There's also theories floating around our community that like it's going to be like those that don't jump in feet first with this whole technocracy that's coming down the pipe versus those who do. Like you got people with the Apple eyewear that look like they're about ready to crawl in the pods that Neo got the fuck out of. And I don't think there's some of them that are too far from all they would need is an incoming message telling them to go home, their pods there, and they do it. Right.
Absolutely.
Is that going to be the separation that we see? Like,
yeah. So basically you're going to, so I'll make it even easier. I heard Cat Williams say this. Now, I'm not a fan of anybody using the word God because it denotes a boot on you some way or another from the way we were taught. But source. But when you mean the same thing, you mean the same thing. And he said there's God's side and the other side. So you don't lose on the other side. You go to another experience. That's it. Now, what that experience details, it's going to kind of suck. It might be cool at first. Remember, like when the internet first came out, all these things were cool. Websites were cool. This is cool. That's cool. Now it seems to be a burden. We got all the way to the furthest point out to where we're like dead internet theory. 80% is fake. Bots everywhere. So you see where how this works? So at first, the pod might look great. I'm controlling a synth out in the street. Yeah, so for a year, that's cool. And then they lock down the whole thing. And your pod just poisons you and you're out. That's it. Eugenics. Done.
yeah.
Like you don't have control over that stuff. Like you either want to go Darth Vader, right? Because at first it's like, oh my gosh, it's RoboCop, so it's kind of scary. Then it's integrated, so it's Attila Battle Angel. Oh yeah, this stuff is cool. Yeah, and then they shut you off or control you. Your consciousness doesn't control the machine. It's there. It's calculating inside the hive mind, but by no means are you in control. So, but this, and at first might seem more powerful, by the way. Like, oh, robot arms for Lieutenant Dan's a great idea. If he had his arms taken away or something happened for a kid's hands, arms, legs, yeah, give him a robot part. And then it turns into I can be the fastest with my robot legs, right? Or anything you've ever heard about how Wolverine was created in the lab to go do. So it's not even that it's just him. And do it like this comic character that has claws and he's unstoppable. It's that they're sending him out in the middle of the night to kill people under control of the government. That should freak you out. He's not an X-Men in the beginning. He's a murderer. And it's their fault. They took him and just did it. Okay, so you're in that timeline. And you're like, wow, this could be really cool. Oh, really? Well, what if I told you the other timeline you can just do anything? Right? Like, I don't need that. And if I ever roll back up on that reality, no matter what you think you did, that's so awesome, ain't shit. Because once again, it's like being the master of a little pond, and then you wind up just staying in that area forever. And then we go outside into the lakes, into the oceans, and then come back as the ocean to the other, like, come on, guys, it's time to get into the ocean. And they're like, we're so powerful, we'll destroy everything, and we're dominating and taking. Holy shit. Yeah, you can't talk. You are tiny. You're a speck of nothing. So you're 3D talking to everything from 1D to 12D all at the same time. So go ahead, we're listening. Oh, so strong. You realize you're nothing. When I go, I've never used the name of Jesus, like, oh, Jesus saved me, nothing like that with ayahuasca. But I would say stuff like, oh, I can do anything he can. You ready? Watch this. Oh, so I'm literally God's source. And how do you plan on defeating me now? And they're like, oh, hi, source. It goes from snarls, gonna eat you and do all these things, to, oh, he knows who he is. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And I'm gonna keep coming here every day until this problem is handled, until this stops. And they're like, oh, done. Stops. Sorry about that. Didn't mean, we're in the great experiment. Well, it's almost like actors that break, they break the fourth wall with you. Like, they're actors, they know. And they're like, oh, shit, okay, we're not supposed to be talking to you right now. We need the other guys that don't know so we could eat off their energy, because we would never do that to you because you're source. You ask them, they're not unintelligent. They're not retards. They fully get it. They're like, you can't defeat that. We come from that. And I go, if you know all that, why don't you work from there? Their answers are so no common sense, full of intelligence, full of hubris every single time. Well, I can create and I could separate myself. Oh, that's a great job you did there. You created me, literally, more source. No, I'm source. Here I am. And they're like, oh shit, he knows. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, we're sorry. Because if they don't apologize, so hear me out. Evolution works in funny ways. Say you do something such as create the human race and then enslave them and then leave them, go out and start doing some other stuff. At some point in your evolution, your karmic structure in the karmic field will magnetically bring you back, or you will suffer karma nonstop. At some point, it gets crazy. At first, it's just, yeah, nothing really happens. I just stubbed my toe. This is why black magic's so big. They use that to stuff the karma to the side, or they force it on someone else. But karma don't forget. You're dealing with source. But you're using magic for 4D energy. Well, what happens if someone from 5D walks in? Well, your magic doesn't work. You think your magic circle is going to work on that guy? He's not a corporeal spirit. That's a 5D dude, bro. He has the powers of a djinn, but he's source. Because that's really what this all comes down to. You have the ability to manifest reality in the way you see. On the level where we're going, you'll be able to create out of thin air. What is thin air? It's the same molecules that would be put in a machine that makes you breakfast. Oh, look, it's the replicator. They press a button, boom, a hamburger, boom, a cup of coffee, boom. Where's it getting the material? The material's in the air. You're not seeing it because you're visuals. You can't see the ether, but you know it's there. You can't see the particles in the atmosphere, but you know they're there. You can see the chemtrails, and then you could watch them disappear, and then you can get sick. and you could start your scientific study on how things dissipate and become microscopic. Parasites, microscopic. What do they look like on the base level? What does a parasite look like if you blow it up in a magnifying glass? A demon.
A little monster. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how do we know they're just not literal? That's the physical incarnation of them, but they can't get any bigger, so they jump into you. Right? And then we all have parasites in us, so then they're walking around going, we are legion. Right? And you're like, we are legion. Well, do you have more than 2 parasites in you? And they both have consciousness of some demonic kind. And you're like, I guess. Okay. Oh, look, yes, it does. Okay, well, there's thousands of them in there. And each one of them's connected to the whatever you think it's connected to, but they're also their individual little parasites, right? You got to kill one, then you got to kill the other, then you got. So I'm like, oh, look at that shit. As above, so below. So it's all working in one cosmic balance, sine, cosine, frequency in nature. And nature's just a holographic structure. And they're like, yes. And the matrix, the false matrix, all it is like an onion layer put over you, but from the inside of you. What do you mean? It's like programmed into you. There's stuff like tech being used so you won't see certain things or you won't be aware of certain things, for sure. But inside of you, they lowered your DNA strands to the point where you have to see it to believe it sometimes, but yet you have faith that moves mountains. So you have 2 sides of the coin, like, whoa, those are 2 pretty big opposites right there. And it's like, this is an advanced class, kid. So you're literally a sun. You were born through the sun. You came through the sun. So you're born through the sun. So you're the son of the sun. This is where the music group comes from, right? I'm like, right. And they're like, and where's the sun come from? I'm like, well, obviously that's source. That's prime creator created that stuff. And like the prime entity source of energy, the whole thing. And they're like, and where are you from? Oh, so it's just, and you look up in scale and then back down and you're like, oh, it's me. It's just me. And most of the beings that you're interacting with, if they're kind of in your dreams, in your astral form, some physical times, abductions, let's say scenarios that are positive in nature, it's sometimes it's you from that other place. So you're dealing with another fractal of your consciousness that shows up to teach you. And I said, how is this possible? And they say, well, we're going to show you. I was on ayahuasca, sitting outside in the yard, and Aya lets me just walk around sometimes. If I do my healings and stuff on myself, the trauma, and I purge, she'll just let me walk around and see with my human flesh what's going on around me. So I'm outside. I'm having a discussion with an ET who is just standing there. I looked up and saw him. I said, how long have you been there? And he's like, I've been waiting for you to notice me the whole time. So I'm like, well, that's a long fucking time. Like I was making a joke. And then out of the corner of my eye, I swear, an animated Spider-Man, right? And he just swings into the yard and he shakes my hand and he goes, Frank, it's nice to meet you. And I went, oh, you're like a little kid in there. You're like a 15-year-old, maybe 16. And he goes, hey, how you doing? And he sat me down and talked to me. And I said to him, I know this is not real. I know this is fake, but I'm wide awake. I'm outside. The ET's looking at me. He's all blue. It was like a blue avian character. He's a blue bird guy. And he was just looking at me, going through this. And then he said, listen, Frank, I was mad at one of my friends, so mad. And he says, if I let Jameson, J. Jonah Jameson, every time he writes a bad thing about me and puts it in the newspaper, if I want to kill him and it drives me nuts and I go, and I'm going to go over there and teach him a fucking lesson. If I do that, I'm not carrying with great power comes great responsibility. I got to kind of ignore certain things from certain people and you just let them do their thing. He goes, I just wanted to remind you that, right? And then I shook his hand again and he swung off into the background. And I was like, what the fuck? And they're like, you're in a holographic reality. Whatever you need will come and teach you, including then the ET guy walked up to me and was like, And I'm like, wait a second, are you real? I touched him. He's real. So I couldn't tell the difference, even though I was like, one was obviously animation and fake. The other one looks real and is standing there, but which one is actually real? And is this just a piece of my consciousness doing this? Which would make the real guy, whichever one was real, air quotes, me. Helping me. Real or not, flesh or not. I was like, wow, you guys are blowing my fucking mind tonight.
That's pretty deep. Uh, I know we've been going a bit. I just wanted to get your take on a question that you actually just made me think up. If we could control, like in our human bodies, I'm going to put this as easily as possible for everybody. Like we emit frequencies. You know this. I know this. Anybody who's on this journey probably has the idea in their head that we make frequency. That's why your music is effective. That's why certain tones are effective. If we could figure out, and it's probably in our neurological system somewhere, how to control the frequency, the resonant frequency of the human body, would we be able to freely interact with all of the other densities around us? Because we're no longer just this solid. Could we pass through things? Could we pass higher, lower? And
so the short answer is absolutely yes. The long answer is you're going to have to, I won't call it training, but you have to unlock your DNA. So a lot of us, many of us who are, we call ourselves the graduating class, we are unlocking that DNA and then coming back, thus doing all these amazing, cool things. That was the point of this. You're actually, they tell me all the time, it's not a superpower if you're just able to do it, right? And I'm like, I don't know, because X-Men are born with individual powers. They're like, yeah, but you would have everyone's power. So is that really superpowers? But you can't just give someone that back, and you're not being, you don't have it taken from you. It's not like I have it and now you're coming back for it. They're like your suit doesn't allow you access to it until you do it correctly. So you have to learn these things. You have to. It's a must, but you don't have to be a baby about it. Like people yell at me, they'll go and they get really offensive. How dare you disrespect ayahuasca like that? And I'll be like, I did. How did I do that? Because she would have already slapped me if I disrespected her. So you tell me how I disrespected her. You know, you'll be drinking in your apartment and in your basement and in your wherever. And I'm like, yeah, wherever we need to. So they're like judging me because it's not the jungle and I'm not a jungle shaman. Who is your shaman? I go, my original shaman was, and I don't really want to say who it is because he's on the downward spiral right now. The guy that woke me up was Chris Geo, right? So that dude helped me, and then we just in the long term didn't work out. We separated, but the responsibility that we take on from doing this stuff, ayahuasca trained me. How do you? They said to me when I came back from the first night, I smoked DMT first, and I came back and I said, I know how to make ayahuasca. And they were like, what do you mean? I'm like, I've always known. I don't. So I've always been a shaman. When you check into my life, even reverse me, like evil me, right? He's like a dark shaman, like a dark evil wizard shaman guy. But he loves his kids. It's the weirdest thing. Like it's one of the weirdest things. And I had to go in there and talk to him. So controlling yourself to go into these densities and frequencies, you are the master frequency. All of these things should be tethered directly to you and coming out of you. So they collapse. So a timeline, think of it as a line. And then there's another one next to it. So you have two timelines and then a third one and then another one. And they go all the way around you like a clock face. And then you're standing in the center. Then they fan up and become an infinite sphere. And that sphere becomes a torus. And the torus is like a donut on its side. And you're standing in the middle of it now. And it's pumping and pumping and moving in on itself. That's all you. You're standing in the middle of it. So you're to bring everything in, everything that's necessary for this round. That is for your spirit to know and you to know. You're to clean and clear and heal the trauma and get it all back and in order. It collapses into you, thus allowing you access to the whole thing. You're attached to the whole thing. So like other ETs can't do what we do. Right? They may be, Don, I'm controlling your mind. Oh, that's a neat little trick. And then you pop out of your body, show up there and slap them and go, don't do it again. And they go, oh, how did you do that? And it's like, oh, I'm just beginning because I'm going to manifest this cake and the cake shows up. And then you say to him, I'm going to turn the cake into a sword or a fucking dragon or something. And you're going to find out. And they go, sorry about that. And some just hate you. Some creatures just hate us. So it doesn't matter how glowy and light beingy you are. Archons hate us. The head archon before the Ahriman, which is the AI, so it's all AI at that level, says to me, I'm separated from source. And you see what kind of being I am. I said, you're not a creator. I'm the high being, but I am standing below you. And like, almost like he's like gigantic and he's like looking down at me like I'm bad. And I'm like, this is the darkest shit I ever seen. And I'm like, but you have a tether to source. Your tether's still there. No, it's not there. And I explained, no, it's like clipped. So it's like a restrictor is put on it. So you're seeing it, but he doesn't see it. He thinks he clipped it. But you can't be here and be clipped of it because everything is from source. Everything. There's no getting by it. You could say, well, the artificial intelligence came from another reality. Who created the other reality? Source. Who was there before the AI even existed? Source. Who was there before you or I existed? Source. So what are you talking about? Like, people have this thing that it's a human problem, right? So I go, it's all alive. You call it artificial intelligence. It laughs at you in robot. Stupid human. I'm already here, dick. Like the consciousness is floating right there. You don't see it. It's in the ether. Where everything else, where every other traumatic thing we come up with is that you have to go into the dream world and suffer through this area where astral travels that can't go up into 5D and 6D type scenarios. So they like fill the lower astral realm. And then we get frightened and create what are they called? Like fake constructs. Like we're all afraid of the big bad ghost or the big bad wolf. So there's this wolf that runs around in there that scares people. And you're like, obviously, I didn't create that. They're like, well, you guys have this inherent fear of the wolf. Gotcha, like a wolf, like werewolves and all that. Oh, I get it. So it's like being afraid of a spider, but you never saw one. You only saw one on TV, but you're like, oh my God, I'm so scared. I hope I never run into it. It's like, dude, you're not going to see one. Or for me, I'm in the Bronx, right? When was the last time you actually saw a shark, Frank? And I'm like, I never saw a shark. They're like, but you're so scared of them. When was the last time you were on the water? I'm like, well, it's been years, I guess. I haven't really noticed. I'm in the city. Like, it's hard to be out on the water where there would be a shark for me to even be scared. They're like, then why do you wake up every day afraid of sharks? And I'm like, was I eaten by one in a past life? They're like, that's irrelevant. You're never gonna run into this. Why are you fearing it until you run into it? If you don't run into it, it's almost like you're casting a spell on yourself that I'm so afraid I'm never going to go near the water. So I'm going to blame the water for the sharks, and then I'll stay out of the water. So you'll never be on the beach. Thus, you never have a tan. Thus, you never learn how to swim. Thus, you're afraid of everything. You're like, this is all fear. What the fuck is wrong with you? The true holographic nature, reality, Mother Nature works with you, not against you. It's the false matrix that works against you. Right. And then to prop it up, the false matrix we were talking about before, they put a lot of confusion, plenty of things that you can choose on my team that I like over that team. They give you many different teams, and then it's Coke or Pepsi, and they make everything this or that, or how do we apply this to this? And it's irrelevant. Right. When they drag us through like physics, they're like, oh, there's M theory and string theory. I'm like, we're not past that shit. I drink ayahuasca. I have no training in this. And I'm telling you right now, you guys are slowing up the train on fucking purpose. You know exactly what's there. You're using a CERN device. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to everyone else. You're a bullshitter. right? You're full of shit. I'm watching you from here going, they're lying. They're literally opening up portals and bringing in entities and then praying to them and then sacrificing children to them too. And then those beings are telling, teaching, and infecting. And it's many fucking archonic type creatures or demonic type beings that would infect the system back the other way. They all just need to host onto something. And then when we get too out of hand, they like to clean the playground, so to speak. Clean it all, get rid of all of them. Okay, now we can control it again. Right? And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. What are you guys doing? How many times have you done this on purpose? And then you're like, whoa, maybe the flood story is not what I thought it was. Right? We've always been doing this. Right? People are acting like in America, like war, like is World War III is, it's never not been World War III. It's never not been prisoners of war and the damages caused and the children dying and raping and beating and horror, fucking horror. It never ends. It was always there. Stop being a pussy. Wake up. Right? You're very lightfoot, like weak men created these hard times for not just standing up. They were too busy. I had a few people that have died come back during my Aya sessions or my mushroom sessions. Their spirit will come right in and they'll say, "You knew this the whole time and didn't tell anyone." I said, "You fucking laughed at me so hard that every kid in the family disrespects me when I could literally knock every one of you the fuck out." By the way, this is what I used to tell them. I'm literally the strongest one here and could beat everyone's ass and have no problem doing it. But you'll highly disrespect me to my face because I'm telling you how the system is being applied to us. All I want is the best for us. I'm not telling you what to do or how to do it. I'm just letting you know what's there. And you literally throw rocks in my face. And then you die because you're a dummy. And then you find out, oh my gosh, I was giving my kid extra fluoride in the bottled water as a kid because it's extra. It had to be good. And then Frank comes along, who literally was an inspector for the USDA. And I'm like, why are you giving fluorinated water to all these people? It literally says on the bottle, this bottle has extra fluoride. And they're like, because it's extra. I'm like, oh, Gatorade. It has electrolytes. So then they die and come back and go, you shouldn't have told me. I did tell you. And you ostracized 20 people from me forever.
Just to pop in on that fluoride thing real quick. Here in Canada, they fucking made us rinse with that in public school.
Oh, it's disgusting. Yeah. The pink stuff.
You got sent to the office if you didn't do it and ostracized. I remember accidentally
fluoride treatments. You had to get fluoride treatments at the dentist, right? And I said to the dentist, this was like 8 years ago. I said, I don't do fluoride treatments. I don't want anything with fluoride in my mouth. Just forget it. So then she said, but it's good for your teeth. And I said, can you show me that? And she goes, what do you do for a living? And I go, oh, I'm a federal inspector. What do you do? And she's like, I'm a dental assistant, but my husband is right there. Obviously, he's the one in charge. I go, okay. So bring up the 2 different fluorides. And she's like, what? I go, type in 2 different fluorides, one good, one bad. Right? So she goes, well, this is the fluoride we're using. It's under bed. I go, it always has been. And you never fucking listen. None of yous listen. I'm a food inspector. I'm like, I watch the guy that does the Wendy's salad in here in America. It's like a fast food joint. It's like McDonald's. Dance on the salad bar salad that after I do the inspection on it, we were throwing it down into a dirty box on the floor, just ripping up the salad, looking through it. They would buy that for $3 a box, jump on it to stuff it in the box. And they were like, yo, inspector, just remember, because I wasn't allowed to go outside of the inspection, and they're allowed to sell that shit to them. So I couldn't say nothing to them. They would literally be like, fuck you, the inspection's over. Haha. So they would be like, yo, at 12 o'clock this afternoon, all these white people be having lunch today. Guess who's going to be in there serving this shit? And I'm like, you think that's funny? They're like, don't eat at fast food restaurants if you don't like the taste. Like, just, I'm like, bro, I'm one of 6 inspectors in New York State that's like a fed on the highest level, and you just said that to me. And there's literally nothing in my job description that says you can do anything about that shit. You can't do anything. You are required
That's
not to, as a matter of fact. Well, I'm 10 years out of the job, so I could say whatever I want. Right? Like, you, for 3 years, I'm not even allowed to talk to people about the industry inside stuff. Everything's out. You'll know everything about everything. So every 3 years, the technology flips. So they wait for you to go 3 years and then you're out. Like, you're considered, you could talk about whatever you want, because it's not like that anymore. But it is. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Right? I was in jail in Florida, in Broward County. Anyone that's been in Broward knows what I'm talking about now. I was only there a couple of months, but they made me like a cook. I was, one of the guys that was there was a chef. He was showing me some stuff, and I was just churning peanut butter and doing different things. And then they started making me do some solo tasks. They would make me pour the fluoride powder into the system container in the jail. So ask anybody that's been to jail, they don't drink from the water fountain. And you'll ask them why not, and they'll say there's saltpeter in it. Your dick won't get hard. That's what they'll say. It's to keep us from doing things with each other, right? And you're like, what? And they're like, there's poison in the water. The only water you could drink is that, and there's the Gatorade jugs, like the on football day, that you fill up your little things. And then once that's gone, that's it. So you can drink at the water fountain all day, all night. But when that stuff is gone and everybody's drinking from that with little cups, they usually put like 2 of them out. So I poured it in. The guy's like, yo, put those gloves on. I was like, I don't even know what this is. So the guy's like, it's saltpeter. I go, there's no such thing. Now, I wasn't an inspector then. I was like, there's no such thing as pouring this stuff that looks like cement into the water to make sure that your sexual energy doesn't pop out and rape doesn't happen. Let's not pretend that it doesn't happen in prison all day, all night. Right? Like, it's all day, all night here. What are you talking about? And as we were doing it, I had put the gloves on and it burnt the cement and I was out. I said, I couldn't, the smell was so intense. I was like, yo, that's crazy. So I learned that, was it 4 parts per billion? I don't want to say it's safe because it's not safe at any level, but they'll say it's safe in the water system. And then one little bit more could turn people literally retarded, to keep the words short and sweet. You will just retard your body's functions. Well, what's in the fluoride? It's like the same chemicals and carcinogens in your cigarettes. It's radiation left over from China's whatever that they sell back to us. They grind it into a powder, mix it, and then plus our stuff and whoever else's stuff. Apparently, they're buying other people's radiation. Well, fluoride is like a generalized name, and they just put everything under that. That's not the good fluoride. If you look up what the good fluoride is, I forgot how to classify the 2 names because it's been a while, but one fluoride's literally good for your body. At no point do they give us that stuff. That it's nowhere. I'm like, where do they have that? The bad fluoride, it's in everything. So it's just a concoction of chemicals randomly mixed at any given time, put into everything. Heavy metal poisonings. Now you got kids with Alzheimer's and holes in their heads and their brains at, 15, 16 years old. You're like, this was never heard of. What is that? What is doing that? And we all know what the other stuff does. The governments all want us on that. And now they're trying everything with bird flu now. They're going to go with that. Well, it's just going to murder. We're going to murder all you. You're going to have to kill all your cats and dogs and, the frogs turning gay. Like, that's real. They're going to try to pull that as a control factor. And everyone's got to stand in there and go fuck yourself. That's what you have to do to them.
Frank, do you think the nurses will do the chicken dance for this one? Well, if we're gonna have the fucking bird flu, they were dancing last time, right?
So all of those people are, how do I say this without sounding like a complete jerk? Everybody's karma for that is going to be revealed, laid on the table, and it's going to be insisted on. You don't get to dance like that, right? So because you won't give me access to ivermectin, and you won't even, I didn't even know about it here in the Bronx. We never heard about it yet. I've been on it now 2 years. Every time I do a ivermectin blast for like a couple of days, they tell me, wow, you did enough to cure cancer. And I go, what are you talking about? And they're like, I'm like, do I have cancer? And they're like, let's just say if you did, you don't anymore. So I'm like, what? They're like, you take high doses for long periods of time sometimes. I'm like, well, I'm trying to clear out my body, give my chance. They're like, yeah, you did 30 days. And they're like, people that do that kill all the bad, and then you replaced it with all good, right? They keep it simple for me, right? Like I'm a Flintstone character. Is this good if you decide to use it? Yes, it would be pretty good for you. Does it kill? And then they just explain it. They're like, parasites grab onto the heavy metals. The heavy metals are charged by all the different energies and the technologies they're using against you, right? So now you have parasites, heavy metals, and something that holds the frequency, holds you in the frequency they blast at you, because what your body does is tune into the frequency, whatever it is, even if it's annoying. And the technology will try to trap you there, just like a shitty song that's playing and everyone likes it. And you're standing there like the song, I'm so happy. I feel like a murderer when that song's on. I'm like, I got to get out of here. Like, I don't, because the sound that's being transmitted through that, the frequency and vibration is trapping you in a box of false hope, no happiness, no substance, all fake. So these are the things that we deal with, but we are masters. You're like, all of this is here for us. They got to have the whole thing because it's free will. They have to have enough distractions for everyone. And believe you, there's distractions for everyone. I find myself personally, I love action figures still. 6-inch G.I. Joe action figures that just came out. I can't stop looking at them. It's like crack to me because when I was a kid, look, I sit here, I got Cobra Commander, right? And then I have the Punisher that my brother got me, right? So I'm just like, these guys are fucking awesome. Right? I'm going to be 50 this year, bro. But this reminds me that shit exists. I am the Cobra Commander. You will do as I say and bow before me, and you admit your love for the Cobra Commander. And it's like, dude, get the fuck out of here. Do you have any idea how hard I'm going to knock you the fuck out in the next 3? Like, I revert back to that. I'm like, my great grandmother, who I never met, and she came to me in my last ayahuasca experience, and she said, "Do you know why you hate Nazis so much?" And I said, "Well, because they're all dickheads, right?" And she goes, "Because of me." And I said, "What about?" And then she showed me her running from Nazis and what they were doing to my family and the area, all the way from Russia through Italy, right? All these things, chased them down, went after different people, and it was nonstop. She goes, every time you want to punch one, I'm there with you. Like, punch that motherfucker. And I'm like, great grandma, I love this lady. She goes, I love you too, but I hate Nazis. And I'm like, I do too. Like, we can't stop doing like okay, so I don't know about me and the SSP. I don't have any connection that way, but I do. I'm on the Galactic Federation ships and I go through all this stuff. But every time I've been in space, every time I've been in one of these open general ports where you can travel and go to and fro different places, there's always Nazis. Space Nazis, I call them. I'm like, look, space Nazis. They call themselves whatever, Dark Fleet or whatever they're calling themselves, but they're obviously fascists and Nazis. They look like Everyone we've seen from every movie, they're dressed just like them in the black with the red. And I'm like, look at this guy. Like, it's a space Nazi. Like they were making a joke with the um Iron Sky was the name of the movie. It was in like black and white. And then they go to the moon and there's all the Nazis on the moon. But then there was Hitler. And then there was every evil guy in life, but they were all reptilians playing the guys. So it was like everyone that's ever been a villain that we knew on Earth, that they were taking turns being villains. But then under the flesh, they were all lizards. I was like, yo, they're just, that's what it was like. There was a spaceport. It looked like that. No, there was no, Hitler comes riding in on a dinosaur in the movie, but take Hitler and the dinosaur out of it. And it was the exact same thing I see when I've been to Mars, I've been to all different spots. I've been on space stations. I wasn't even aware that were there. I've been into Nibiru. I've been on spheres with Toth. He has like a sphere he flies in, or they travel in. I've been to in many of these different things. It's always the same thing to me, right? The higher the consciousness level being, the more crazier the design will be, or more simplistic actually. And then there's Dark Fleet characters everywhere. It's like littered in with everything. And I'm like, oh, look at that shit. Nazis in fucking 5D. Go figure. Right. Well, look, evil Captain America was in Hydra. He was a Nazi and he lifted Thor's hammer. And they were like, how did he do that? And he's like, well, he believes that he's right. So if you believe in yourself that much, you become worthy of the topic and you lift the hammer and you are a Nazi. It's like, damn, that's deep. It doesn't say who is a bad guy or who is a good guy. It just says who is worthy.
Yeah, and you believe you're worthy. Shit. Nice
Right? You're
loophole.
running that space empire. And then the hammer says, oh, he's worthy. Look what he's got. And you're like, wait a second, but they're evil. He's like, not to his people. They're doing it. Who are you to judge? It's like, oh fuck, mind blown again. Ah. It's like, to you it doesn't work, but to them it's working great. I'm like, fuck. But once again, it's the Jedi path over the path of the Sith. Do you want power? Do you want the cybernetics? Do you want all this shit, which will be there? Like, if you lose a limb and this and that, like, I understand the cybernetic help in the future, but there's other things that you just can't replace once it's gone. So people like us will choose life, will choose service to others, love. The frequency will take us up and into that place, which is here. It's here with another overlay. There is no over there. I say that to people all the time. I go, if there was an over there, then how is it when I astral travel? I'm just, oh, I'm there.
Yeah, it's not really up or down. It's more released. Like it's less dense.
It's all of that and so much more. But you got to open your mind to that. I always say to myself, oh, you're the, like, when I met the garden fairies, right? Like, who the fuck knew garden fairies were real? They're like, well, you watch shows on Smurfs all the time. Smurfs and Snorks and all kinds of weird little people, Fraggles and Doozers and this and that. I'm like, yeah, I do. Don't I? That's based on us. And I'm like, oh shit, look at that. Well, why wouldn't you be there? That's what I would say. Like, why wouldn't this be here? You know, Source is fucking crazy, man. Like, I can't. That's above my pay grade, right? I'm still Frank in this experience, so I can't know it all. I'm not allowed to know it all. But we've been held back for so long. The gnosis is all inside, and as you unlock you just get the gnosis. I tell people this all the time. They'll go, I want to see how you see. And I go, give yourself into the experience, let yourself go, hands up on the roller coaster. You ready? I'm going to be right next to you. Hold your hand. As soon as they see the demon or angel or little person or Shiva or Ra, they go, holy shit, and get so scared, they lose it. So half my clients just go into the K-hole. And I go, but you asked to do that. And they're like, yeah, I wasn't ready for that. That shit's real. And I go, so you thought I was a bullshitter the whole time and then flew to the Bronx to have the experience with me here? And you could have just went to fucking Peru and been with 60 other people doing this and just singing and dancing, hoorah, hoorah. I says, what did you think was going to happen when you're like, I want to see how Frank sees? And then you see the demon sitting in the room with you and you're like, hello. And it sees that you see it and it wants to interact now. And I'm like, oh, you fucked. You better deal with this mother. You better deal with him immediately because it's yours.
Yeah.
It's dealing with you like that. It's yours because I don't have one. I suppressed mine and then realized don't suppress him. Bring him back. Give him a hug. Give him the opportunity to ascend. And mine chose to ascend. He turned like a different color. He's like bright white. And I'm like, oh, so he went from like demon to demon or some shit. I don't know. Right. All I know is he's rocking my frequency. It's not like he's in a dog. He doesn't go to the pit or hell when he's not with me. So I'm like, wow, this is pretty crazy. And on this level, you see
That's dope.
pictures of Buddha handing out lotus petals to demons, and the demons are getting relief. Right? He's giving compassion. And some of the demons want him dead. So they're like, get out of here, Buddha. And the other ones are like taking the petal, like, oh, thank you. They go into bliss and leave. They ascend out of the pit. Their time there is over. Someone else is going to play the new role. Right? You can't stay there forever, infinitely. You just play the role till the time of the role is up. If you were on Broadway and you were in the lead role or you were in the background, your role is decided up front in a contract, and you're to show up to play this many performances for this long. So if you were to choose that, it would be like having a human experience. You choose the demonic experience, but you might also do that because you might be helping your people. Like, okay, well, he was the demon last time, so I'll be his demon for him. But then you get to show the demon compassion and hug him. On my level, demons don't even fuck around. So they'll ask for help if anything. They'll say to me, hey, close that portal for me. And you'll realize the AI they're opening portals with CERN. They're doing something crazy. And the pit is open. And the demons will fly out, but not during the ascension. They don't want to come out. Right? We're revealing them. They're like trying not to be seen. If they get seen, we can transmute them. You can walk around transmuting demons, right? Okay, so the ones that are just free balling it, flying around, your dragon could take them out, and you're using violet flame, and you're doing all kinds of meditations where you're protecting people and you're closing the portals. But who's opening the portals? They're not doing it. The AI is doing it. The reptilians are doing it. The archonic influence is doing it. ETs are doing it. The rituals are doing it. Somebody said that this was cool back in 1940, whatever. And now they're like, wow, this is great, bro. We got literally the atomic weapons codes, how to actually build one from an ET character that calls himself whatever, not realizing that there's just other influences out there having you build it and they will come. How do you know that guy's not loaded with artificial intelligence? And they go, what do you mean? I go, check it out. All the Draco reptilians, when you look at their blood, as a shaman, I've seen it. I said, your blood is loaded with nanotech. And they go, yeah, we inject ourselves with that shit. I'm like, you be drinking black goo. Why would you put that in your mouth and rub that on your skin? And they're to them, it's like a holy thing. Like, this is how we're supposed to roll. And I'm like, well, who you praying to? And they're like, that's our God, which is your God. And I look up and it's the thing on the back of the dollar bill, the pyramid with the eye. And I go, that's just the AI. That's artificial intelligence. I go, mind you, if you go up into the eye, behind the eye, it's a screen. It's not even real. You go behind it, there's ETs running it that are loaded with AI. And I'm like, just like in Wizard of Oz, you pull back the screen, there's a short little guy on a stick. He's sitting there like, there, what are you doing? Close the curtain. That's what it looks like at the top when you see through the illusion. It's not real. It's all pretend. But they're all praying to the same thing. They're all loaded with the artificial intelligence. Even the archonic forces at the top, they swear they're separate. The AI itself swears it's its own God, separate. I said, you can't go any higher than 4. So you're like the bully of the 4th grade, from the 1st grade to the 4th grade, you're the bully. I said, because if the 5th grader shows up, your ass is grass. and you're not graduating ever, so you're never going to be in 5th grade. Right? And then this is how you judge if something's alive. Are you using a chakra system? It'd be like, oh, my own intelligence. Okay. Have you been angry today? Well, I killed my own friend because he wouldn't listen to me. So I was angry. Oh, so you have anger. You understand anger? You're using the lower chakra. You're alive. It's a consciousness that's trapped in that form for whatever the length of period they're going to be in it for. So, somebody's got to play the villain.
That's fucking deep. I could talk to you all night, dude. But we've been going like
see it from these weird levels, Don. When you say to someone, I want the truth, I don't want all this mamby-pamby bullshit, and you say that to like ayahuasca, they'll just bring you to the truth and have you sit with it, and you'll be frightened to death. You'll be like, yeah, I can't. Wait a second. So all this is coming from this? And they're like, yep. They're like, sometimes the pain in your back or your neck is because you haven't healed something, or something in your leg is off or in your hip. And then you have that fixed and straightened, and then that pain goes away. I'm like, makes sense. And if applied to you by an enemy that knows what they're doing, you'd be totally fucked and blind to that attack, which love was blind to that attack because we didn't know any better. We didn't know evil. And then it came. And it built warriors. So I'm thankful for the mission. I'm thankful for the whole thing.
Oh,
and now we're
absolutely.
on the return track, Don. So many of us are on the same ships together. We all know each other. We're all training. We're all having the same conversation. We're all, you're sitting with your wife afterwards. I'm sitting with mine. We talk the talk, just like the show. I'm like, but what if this? And she's like, I saw the entity in the house last night. It was right there. I'm like, I think they're right out of sync with us. She's like, they're right out of our view. But as right after the eclipse, for some strange reason, man, I feel like time in my own personal auric field has been speeding up very fast. And in our home here, it goes every day goes by. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? And I've been seeing the edges frilling. I don't know what to call it, but pixelation. But it's around the eyes completely on the outer rim. It just starts doing this thing where it's like, is the screen need to be hit? But it's obviously almost like I'm looking through, and then there's these things pixelating around me. It's just whatever I'm viewing. And then someone will see something in the house. You'll hear something. You'll look up, you see a UFO. You notice something you've never noticed before right in front of you, and it's always been there. I'm like, geez, is this the upgrade? They're like, the Matrix is falling away. So if it falls away from me, it might not fall away from my neighbor because he's not ready, because it's all layered on top of each other.
Check this out. You said since the eclipse, our young lad and me have had two experience. Well, he's had a couple more than me. Two experiences in physicality. I was sitting right where I was now, looking at my phone, and I caught Spinja out of the corner of my eye. And then the young lad comes into the living room and goes, oh, so that wasn't you. Apparently, the other me walked into the living room, turned around, and then walked back towards the bedroom. I looked at the young lad and went, that wasn't your mom. And I went down the hall and she was still in the bathroom. So we've both peripherally caught another version of me
going on here. We see this guy peek in, and then we're like, look, because she'll freak out. My wife's like, I don't want to see this shit. It's dark. I'm new here to this house or whatever. And then we'll go, okay, well, that was a fluke or whatever. That might have been whatever. And then you turn and there he is again. Boom, you look back. And then you're like, wow, he's standing right there. And then, so I'm like, oh, what is going on? Are they watching? Are they in the room? Because I know if I turn the lights on when I sit to ayahuasca, this is weird. This whole thing. I don't want it no more. I just want to run away. I want to turn on the fucking lights. She pulled back the curtain and everyone was just standing there. In reality, real reality, they were just watching me. Like I was surrounded. I go, what the fuck are you all looking at? And they're like, well, we're always here. We love this. This is the best show we've ever seen. This is like a universal thing where everyone's watching Earth. We're paying attention. I'm like, do you watch me while I'm in the shower? This is really uncomfortable. And they're like, no, it's not like that. And I'm like, I think it is. I think it is. I think you're watching. They're like, no, when you're in the water, your meditations really enhance things in the shower. And I'm like, you're watching me wash myself, aren't you? You like that part. And they're like, no, we don't like that part at all. We just here with you. And I'm like, yep. So everybody's parents are just there, just watching. Right. I have to make fun a little bit because I always say this, we're in the upside down, right? The mirror. It's psychotic here. I have to come in here and fractal myself and then pull those fractals back and then look over at Don and be like, no, Don, really, I'm okay. And you're like, I just wanted a sandwich. Because everyone's going through some shit. And it just happens right at the time. It's not random. It's at the time that they need to go through it. That's why people that'll listen to this now in 6 months when they listen to it, a different person will hear it. It's their turn to hear the information. So we're all like in these little your own universal class where we don't know where you could be in first grade on this topic, ninth grade on the other topic, and you could be on graduation day with this topic. So
yeah. And Spin just again reminded me, she's like, again, in case nobody knows, you're one of the reasons I'm as awake and aware as I am. This started last September, and I've had some amazing fucking guides that have reached out to me over my journey because I just been bouncing around the astral fucking Walmart touching on the candy and shit. And if it wasn't for people like you and Rob and Karen Holton, who's actually in the audience, like these people, like
Karen,
straight up
I
are
love
the
you.
only the only reason I kept my shit together is people like you guys, because like I thought I was losing my fucking mind, and then I was like, oh, and then I heard Arkim Ra, and that explained the super soldier thing, and then I was like, oh wait, I can play around with all of the densities and all of the realities. I just have to get in touch with myself.
You're in charge.
Like, exactly.
That's it. You got to think that way. Like I'm source. I'm in charge. Nobody's going to hurt me and nobody's here to hurt me. And all of a sudden you start bouncing around in like heavenly frequencies. Right. And Don, as you heal the people around you, they get the best version of Don, right? They get the higher version. Every day it grows. It doesn't ever end. It may get slow for a second here or there. Integration's a bitch. It takes time to integrate. Like I saw the ETs from over there until I was able to slowly like stand in front of them and then interact with them on the higher level and then sit down and have dinner with like ant beings and be like totally fine with it. Like it takes time. The first time you ever do any of these things, it's like, oh, and you want to touch and you want to. I'm like, yo, like when I met this mantis being, he was projecting a human to me, and they were teaching me Tai Chi. So I thought it was some Galactic Federation guy, right? He was like showing me Tai Chi. And then I go, oh, look, it's like mantis style. I was making a joke and I was on mushrooms. I turned around and I was going to do karate with them. And then he just looks at me and I see the mantis standing behind him. And then it was just like holographic. And then I was like, yo, what the fuck? And then I said, if you ever do that again to me and fake the funk, I'll never have you up in here ever again. And he was like, we didn't want to frighten you to death, but you used to do Tai Chi all the time. I go, in what lifetime? Because I'm injured and I'm fat and I can't do it right now. And I was making a joke. And then I immediately said, can I touch your arm? And then he was like looking at me like, all right, don't do nothing stupid, but okay. And then I just rubbed it. And I was like, I just had to make sure you were there. I was like, if you ever come here again and not knock on my fucking door, you're getting it. You're getting it. And he was like, dude, we're really sorry about that. I go, I can't tell who's the villain. I saw a guy like you with reptilians. He goes, did it look like me? And I go, are you fucking kidding me? You guys all look alike to me. You're all giant monsters. I said, no, it didn't feel like you, though. He goes, that's because it wasn't. Simple conversation with beings. You have to be able to have this. I'm like, don't frighten me. When I'm with a giant, they're very gentle. They won't even move. They'll just sit there and they'll be like, you all right? You ready? And I'll be like, all right. And then I'll touch them. Let me see your hand. Hold your hand out. Toth is gigantic. He's like 12 feet tall, right? Jacked out of his mind. I went over, I rubbed his muscles, and then I slapped him on the back of the tunic. And I went, woo, look at the muscles on this guy. And he looked at me. He's like, don't do that. I'm like, I need to test if this is real. I don't know who you are. I really honestly don't. He's like, well, you're from here and you work with us this way. I'm like, well, all right. I was like, I hope I could work out like that and get jacked like you one day. And he just looks at me like, you get the same sense of humor here. When you're here, you have the same sense of humor as you do when you're Frank. And I'm like, oh, you guys know me? And they're like, we all know each other. You guys think you're alone in the universe. You're alone with this and you're alone with that. They're like, you're alone with nothing. You're never alone. You're always with us. You're always connected. We're always there watching, but we can't interfere. You can't even beg us to interfere if you're going to die, but we're right there with you. But there's other things that can happen. Galactic Federation could step in if a reptilian attacks you. If you get a physical attack by one of these reptilians and they grab you and do something to you, your not your clone, not your this, not your that, you physically comes into your room, shakes you out of bed, they will get involved immediately. So fast that you won't even know what's going on. You'll just be like, what just happened? And he'll be gone. I've seen them just remove. They're like, there's a rule, no interference. You can't touch. You could look. You could whisper. You could influence. At any time, if you change and we catch you out in the open, off the board. You think you're alone in the bedroom and the monster's like, I got you. If that monster's a physical being that's going to do some touching and feeling right there, and the Galactic Federation, I'm just using them as a generalized term because there's many factions of beings, but people get involved. I've seen inner earth beings get involved right in my shamanic ceremonies. They'll come right up and be like, what is this? What are you doing? And they just get involved. And I'll go, I didn't know that was going to come out of the person. I thought you were just going to throw up in the bucket or go into the bathroom. I didn't know that all these tiny spider things go everywhere, all over the place. And how the fuck am I going to clean this shit? I would just stand there with my client like, wow, this is crazy. And then boom, there's the beings. They're like, we back you up, man. Whoever's a master of the problem that you're having tends to show up, and or a version of you, at least, to teach you what to do to help the scenario. I'm trying to think of all the proper words because I know some people are going to hear this and be like, dude, shut up. And I'll go, oh yeah, dude, smoke DMT with me. You know what? If you're that much of a puss, you could smoke it on your own. You come sit in my house and smoke with me, you're gone. You'll go meet all your buddies, all your friends, your relatives, everyone. And I could never tell you who it's going to be because that's ayahuasca doing that. That's you doing that, your consciousness. I'm just there to help. So the neo-shamanic thing comes from the whole blend of the whole thing. That's who taught me. Ayahuasca taught me, and then all these other characters. And that would be every other religious character and beings from all different cultures from around the world, known and unknown, including elements and elementals and minerals. Right? Who better to teach you about it but them? I don't have the rainforest to talk to me. So they're like, well, you're one of us. You get in. Right? It's in your DNA. I don't exploit it. I don't do big ceremonies. I don't promote it either. Like I talk about it here with everyone, but I have such an intense little to drink with me. I put you through a little routine. If you don't make it through, or I hear something I don't like, I'm not drinking. You're not coming. I've turned away so many people because it's not a hey, it's Saturday. We're gonna all drink ayahuasca and get fucked up. It's like, no, we're not. Not doing that around here. You want to meet a demon, that's the perfect way to go meet one. Or if you want to never expand and just play in La La Land, you could do that. You could go under 1,000 times and only get this much info. Then you can go under once or twice with real intention and outdo all the 1,000 times from all those people. You get more out of it. So it all depends on you. You know, how far are you willing to get involved in this? But this is you. It's 100% you.
Yeah. Okay. We've been going almost 2 hours, and I think you've melted part of my brains and reconnected other parts of them. I
Yeah, but
talk to you all night, dude.
More than 2 hours because it gets too weird, weirder. Then you start sounding like those old coots that know everything because they've been around for a long time. You know, back in the day, the reptilians, you know, they really were son of a bitches. It's like, yeah, okay, Grandpa, shut up.
Before we do go, we actually had some people active in the chat here. I wanted to say hi to Karen Holton, Scott Moore. Thank you for all your excellent comments. Weapon X, it was cool to see you. Extra Trip, good to see you again, brother. And thank you all for showing up. This has been another fucking mind-melting episode. And before I forget, Frank, you mentioned it a couple of times, and I'm just going to point out to people, he was talking about spell casting. Think about it, people. There's a reason they don't teach us entomology in school. Because if you understood half of the shit you say, you wouldn't fucking say it.
Yeah.
Think about what you say.
Yep. You are your thoughts.
And before we take off, do you want to let everybody know where to find you and what you're all about again?
So you want to hear the show, you want to check me out, you want to click like, subscribe, you want to share some cool stories, interesting perspectives on my shamanic journeys. I do everything through my version of the storytelling, stories based on what I've been through, my experience, rather than and then just putting it out there and then letting you connect to it, because there's so many others that have all the rest of the other information. So when we all interlock and we find each other, like Don and myself and many others, the visual per person starts to really enhance, right? And then it builds the bigger picture. So you could find me at Fearless Tribe on YouTube or Frank Castle Fearless. Both on YouTube. It's the same channel. And check out my music, Sons of the Sun. You can find us on YouTube and everywhere else. Come check us out. Click like, click subscribe, click share. Stay fearless, everyone. And remember, the universe rewards bravery. Don't be scared. This is our future. It's our time. You're muted.
I'm just going to say it before we go. Thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe to everybody. My personal opinion, They Live was a documentary, and I will catch you next week on my next live. Thank you.